So a few years ago, when Forceville Co. was still a thing, and Forceville was still a decently large entity, Forceville Co. and more likely Aja Shishido was trying to help a few other games get over the line, get out there, and get printed. None of these games were designed by him, they were designed by other people. This starts with the Caster Chronicles, which got over the line, got out, became incredibly niche, might be Japanese exclusive now, seems to be locked to one set a year, and seems to be trying to hold on to dear life to Forceville's IP to get people to touch it, which it's not in a healthy position, we'll put it that way. I'm happy it's still around, but I think it needs help to grow a bit. It needs to grow a bit. One set a year really doesn't cut it. Not in this day and age, anyway. So next up you had Architect, which was a steampunk historical magic clone of some description. Duel Masters clone, I'm not entirely sure anymore. It was a very long time ago. It was like 3-4 years, I believe. It went nowhere. It was originally meant to be a full release that got scaled back to a set of decks. Then that got cancelled. Apparently the decks were printed up, but it never went anywhere. Now, the most interesting of these games is Dominator. Now, Dominator is very interesting for a few reasons, because it's not like the others. One, it was designed by an actually known entity. This would be Yoshimasu Akita, the designer of Buddyfight. Well, co-designer of Buddyfight, but he's the one mostly credited with it. He's also the owner of the Card Kingdom chain in Japan, which I believe is like Japan's version of Australia's Good Games, except probably better. It's interesting because it was crowdfunded, it got over the line, and it was meant to be a full production with an anime whole shebang, meant to push this series, push this game. And then the crowdfunding got refunded and the entity got sold to Bushiroad, who have done nothing with it. It's just been languishing there. Now, when Buddyfight fell, around that time, Akita started pushing a new game called Gate Ruler, which is also attached to, well, what is now I Spy, and probably their printing company. Now, this is interesting because we don't know what was sold to Bushiroad. What exactly was Dominator? How different is it to this entity? Because this new Gate Ruler game bears a lot of resemblances to Buddyfight, which is actually a good thing. It means it can basically be the spiritual inheritor of Buddyfight's legacy. Now, I'll go in open. I didn't really care for Buddyfight. I thought it had its appeal. I liked quite a few of the mechanics, but I didn't like the game as a whole. It just didn't click. Things. Sometimes you recognize something as not awful, but it's not for you. That type of deal. My friend really liked Buddyfight. He's really into Force of Will, so he requested this video. He was a bit iffy when he thought it was Bushiroad running it, because the end of Buddyfight had problems in Australia. You really couldn't get it, which pissed him off quite a bit and has soured him against Bushiroad. But I Spy doing it makes him a bit happier. Makes him happy enough to actually try it out. As I said, he requested a video talking about it. And Hunter Surge got in contact with me going, hey, not only is it using Force of Will's art assets a bit, it's using Alice. Now, he mentioned this because of the whole Alice mention I did in the video about an idealized Force of Will. But it did get me off my duff to actually make this video. It was on my list of things to do, but that got me over the line. And it's probably best to do it now leading up to release for hype reasons anyway. So this is a card from Gate Ruler called Space Ninja Ginja. I put him up while I started this video because I think he looks nifty. Now, I should explain also going in, apparently quite a few art assets from Force of Will, including recent stuff like Alice Origins 1, has been licensed to Gate Ruler to use. Now, I don't know who Gate Ruler is actually owned by. That is something I'm a bit curious about, who actually owns the IP, if Akita has his own company or if it's under the I Spy banner. I'll have to check the cards when we look over things. But today we're just going to look over the site Gate Release, I think it's called. Gate Realize, sorry. Look over what they say about the game and what they've deciphered from the rules, and just give my general opinion on that. We're not going to go much further because, well, the demo decks aren't out, haven't played it, haven't seen people play it, can't give much of an opinion more than, oh hey, that sounds good, or I don't like that. But given a few of the things I did actually like about Buddyfight and changes that I have seen have been made, here's hoping I like this a bit more than Buddyfight. I'm going to basically be trying it anyway because a friend of mine, again, he really liked Buddyfight. He wants to pick this up, at least the start decks, to try it out. And, yeah, well, I get to try it out. So let's just get started. We'll start with the official English Infodump. So, excuse me if I have to clear my throat a bit. So, the following is officially localized information for Gate Ruler that was posted to our Discord by Babel Shark, the game's English translator. So what is Gate Ruler? Gate Ruler is an upcoming trading card game developed by Mr. Akita, who's apparently on the Discord, founder of the Card Kingdom chain of card shops, and the original creator of Bushiroad's Buddyfight game. As I said, he's actually credited as the co-creator. There was another man involved, but he's usually the one accredited for simplicity's sake. So, the basic concept of Gate Ruler is that players will be fighting each other as Gate Rulers, individuals gifted with the power of summoning characters and other beings from the cards. So, not terribly dissimilar to being the Vanguard, or I think you are the ruler in Force of Will. I'm pretty sure that's how it works. It's interesting that it uses the same terminology, ruler, but I don't think that's connected. The forces that the player will call upon will come from a variety of different universes, which are all threatened by a vicious enemy from another dimension. So at least we've got the lore there. I can't go into much detail, but the gameplay will be defined by the ruler mechanic, no connection to the rulers in the Force of Will TCG, which will enable the coexistence of vastly different playstyles and skill levels. We will have both splashy casual decks that, with a bit of luck, can be really explosive, so fun things, or a highly consistent and reliable control deck that rewards high skill. So the no fun people. I like the combo decks that's just like this into this into this. If that's how their control works, that's probably what I'd like. But I don't like other people having fun, apparently. That's what I've been told. Players with no prior experience in card games are able to go toe-to-toe with veteran card gamers. Now, I'm very curious if that balance has been achieved. I can tell you from personal experience and playtesting, it is hard. It may sound too good to be true, but as someone who's actually played the game, I can assure you it is not an exaggeration. You're also involved in the game's development, but because you're the translator, at least as far as I'm concerned, but I'll take you at face value. The primary target demographic for the game will be card gamers of age 20 and above. See, this actually goes back to Dominator, which was meant to target people that grew up with Yu-Gi-Oh! Now, I don't have much of a problem with that on face value, but I will point out this. Games that have a specific demographic like that have problems growing past a certain point. Now, Magic is lucky in that it's very much a teenage-orientated thing, all things considered. But it's got enough going for it that it's kiddie enough, and it's not cringy enough to be bad for adults. Magic hits a good middle ground. You hit things like the Spoils, dead game that deserved to die. That was way too cringy and teenagey. Literal fat cat bankers. I'm not kidding. And, well, you can see my video about the worst card game I've ever tried. I really hated that thing. I just am concerned that by not really targeting kids, you're not getting in that young blood into the game. You're just siphoning people off other games. Though saying that with Buddyfight dead, that's probably not the worst thing in the world right now. And more than likely why this was pushed through. Because, hey, it's good marketing potential. I'm not going to deny him that. That is smart timing. It's good timing. And depending on how connected to Buddyfight he remained, he probably knew that time was short. But yeah, I think you should try to keep the game at a level where kids will still be interested and it's not inappropriate for them. You don't speak down to kids and make overly kiddie cards, but you just try to make it appealing. See, a lot of kids like things that are too adult for them in big inverted commas. That's what I'm aiming at. You have to make it kid friendly but not kid orientated if you want to get kids to look at it and pick it up. I'm just saying, it's something I'm trying to do myself. Though the plan is to make the game inclusive as possible. As you might have seen in some of the revealed art, Gate Ruler will feature a range of art styles, everything from cartoonish aliens to majestic dragons. Again, actually, it's a more extreme version. I'll show you this later, but it's a more extreme version of what Vanguard does, in that it tries to go for different markets. What's it called? Keyforge does the same. Now, it is jarring. I'll say it outright. That is very jarring that things don't really fit into each other particularly well. Though, honestly, Force of Will, thanks to different artists and not having a unified art design document, a lot of portfolios for existing properties have the art style must be this, you must match this, barely go further than this. You can make it look a bit better, but don't go wildly out of model. I'm already going to say that's something I don't like about Gate Ruler, and to be honest, if it was me, everything would be drawn by Matt. I'd work that man into the ground, but I love his artwork. Anyway, however, it will not have much in terms of moe art, and Mr. Ikeda is specifically trying to avoid making Gate Ruler into another waifu collection game. Well, you've already told me I'm not welcome. I'm joking. But I can't deny the appeal of the waifus. That does get your attention. Not enough games go for husbandos, for the gay guys and the women, but yeah, the waifus are in plentiful supply. I think it's a good thing, ultimately. It's probably going to have appealing, attractive characters anyway. And it's not like Vanguard, which is child-friendly, doesn't have waifus that are perfectly modest, especially compared to Force of Will. Force of Will has some really... actually, no, a better example would be Caster Chronicles. Caster Chronicles has some wowzers of cards that I would blush using. I would go red in the face using them in public. Anyway, what is Mr. Ikeda's connection with Buddyfight? Mr. Ikeda was the main creative mind behind the Buddyfight card game for its first year and a half. So I don't know how much connection he had by the end, but he might have had contacts inside. He designed the basic gameplay and the individual cards, as well as the concepts of for its setting, characters, monsters, and general storyline. After the first year and a half, he had to leave the project and move on to other things, at which point all creative control and ownership was transferred to the game's publisher, Bushiroad. Interesting. So, again, we don't know if he knew of the cancellation of Buddyfight. The timing's just spectacular. It's curious. It's a good thing for Mr. Ikeda. I'm just saying it's not a negative thing. It's just coincidental and good for it. So, what does Gate Ruler have to do with Bushiroad's Dominator? Basically nothing. Gate Ruler is its own thing and not associated with Dominator or Bushiroad in any official capacity. Mr. Ikeda was working on Dominator at one point in the past, but has since moved on, leaving it under the sole ownership of Bushiroad. That's interesting. Now, I'm curious on the gameplay of Dominator. Now, I've got the Dominator Kickstarter, sorry, it's whatever the Japanese version of Kickstarter is, Gina, I think, up. Does it say anything about the gameplay? That's Mr. Arcade if you're wondering what he looks like. He looks nice enough. We had a guy that sold glasses and called Target Target on for a while. He looked very similar to him. Darker skin complexion though. Let's see. Does it say anything about the gameplay? Animation synopsis, couldn't care less. Card overview. You can put any cards you want in your deck. You can add favorite cards to increase your number of friends. Work on force of will. No, it doesn't really say anything about the gameplay. But knowing what I've read about Dominator, I am willing to believe that it is not the same game. Also, there's other reasons for that. So, is Dominator going to be released by Card Kingdom? No. What will the size of the cards be? Standard, same size as Magic. How exactly will the game be released? We will have the first booster set announced alongside 2 starter decks. The exact date of release has not been announced yet. I'm not sure if this is still the case. That's basically all of the publicly available information about the game currently. There will be a bigger official announcement with the release date and rules towards the end of October. It's October 23 as I'm recording this, though there may be some delays due to the effects of COVID-19. I hope I don't get flagged by saying that and having it up on the screen. Jeez. YouTube, huh? Lore summary. Now that we've got all that stuff out of the way, let's move on to the lore. Gate Ruler is set in the near future, where our world has been attacked by an extra-dimensional enemy known as the X-Vaders. Though this initial invasion was driven back, it was clear that would return in force. Fortunately for us, we are not alone in our stand against this threat. Various nations have set aside their differences to form grand coalitions. These are being aided by supernatural beings of myth and legend, who have suddenly re-emerged into our everyday reality. Visitors from other universes such as Volnar and the Wonderverse have also come to help. These forces prepare for an inevitable onslaught of X-Vader's full might. The key factor in this conflict are Gate Rulers, individuals with the power to materialize physical copies of warriors, weapons, and phenomena from thin air using special cards. Their ability to manipulate the dimensions and space-time are critical in stopping the X-Vaders. You will play as one such Gate Ruler, preparing for the upcoming conflict through mock battles with other Gate Rulers, so it's all sparring. Interesting if they'll ever release the X-Vaders. Oh, I actually could see that happening. Knowing something about that, it will be the 6th colour of Gate Realize. Depending on the colours of the five, because I'm just spoiling now, there's 5 factions, it's like Magic. If there's opening for purple, I am totally making that joke, the 6th colour of Magic, the 6th colour of Gate Ruler. So we'll start. Atlas, Atlantic Alliance Sentinels, an alliance between major Western powers and the Ark. An extra-dimensional craft constructed from a dislodged continent. Which one? The Ark is crewed by refugees of other universes that were destroyed by the X-Vaders. The primary strength of Atlas forces lies in their incredible firepower provided by state-of-the-art military arsenal. That sounds interesting. That's pretty cool. I like the military theme. That speaks to me. Supporting Atlas is OWL, Old World League, a coalition of supernatural beings of Western tradition, such as vampires and werewolves. Oh boy, I know what I like! As many of them prey upon humans, the extinction of humanity by the hands of the X-Vaders is against their interests. Don't attack them, they're my food! I like them. I like that a lot. That's neat. Among the crew of the Ark is the Zoo Force, a group of animal-like humanoids that have extensively upgraded their bodies through cybernetic enhancements, led by their fearless leader, Hell Kong, they seek nothing else than to avenge the ruination of their homeworld. I love it. I love everything of the factions I've heard so far. So next up we have the Yomajin Front, a coalition between various nations of East Asia, such as Japan and China. Okay, China. Among the among with the supernatural allies such as the yokai. Their military technology is just as advanced as Atlas, but there are a lot more experimental weapons that extensively incorporate magic. That's interesting. The reemergence of yokai, supernatural entities of Asian tradition, caught many governments by surprise, but Japan was able to adjust quickly, granting them full citizenship. Well, strictly speaking, they would be Japanese citizens. I mean, they are both of the Japanese people, quite literally, mind in real life. And they're both of the nation of Japan. Many of them returned the favour by offering to join the fight against the invaders. Tokyo is where the initial invasion by the ex-invaders occurred, so we're going full Godzilla, marked by a giant sword that appeared from nowhere and lodged itself in the middle of the city. Even after the initial attack, the area is plagued by frequent ex-invader raids slipping in through small dimensional breaches. However, fighting these incursions have allowed the Yomajin Front to test their new weaponry in combat and accelerate their research. So just scroll down, I think I'm nearly done. I've done them down to the last two. Volnar, a universe straight out of traditional fantasy populated by familiar races such as dragons. Well, I can tell that'll be popular with a lot of people. That's probably the kid-orientated one. Wars here are fought by sword and magic, the latter of which can surpass the power of our latest technology. Some of the most powerful entities in Volnar are the 5 Dragon Lord Pentarchs, godlike dragons of unrivaled might. Magvarius Dragon Lord Pentarch of Inferno is one of their number. They are opposed by the equally powerful 4 Fell Dragon Quadarchs, one of which, Vastoris Rex, is working with unscrupulous individuals of our Earth to gain further power. So they're the bad guys. Wonderverse. How many are we up to? Is that like 6? I thought there was meant to be 5. So I'm going to guess that Atlas and Owl are 1 faction. Yomajin is 2. Oh no. Yeah, I'm not sure which ones are the actual. I think the ones that start with semicolon are the actual factions. So Atlas, Yomajin, Volnar, Wonderverse, and yeah, Excavators are here. So that would be the 5th color. We can't make that 6th color of magic joke. So, Wonderverse, a universe that resembles the sci-fi future imagined in our past, populated by intrepid explorers and strange aliens. The laws of physics here are quite malleable, allowing people to travel light years in a matter of months just because they believe they can. Most aliens here are friendly, but not all of them are well behaved. The criminal syndicate, Crime Naughts, led by their Don, Malevolus Prime, are constantly scheming to take over the universe through petty criminal acts. Let's not going to do it very easily. It's going to take a while. One of their goals is to find one of the great relics of outer space, the Holy Grail. However, they find themselves repeatedly foiled by its protector, the mysterious Space King Arthur. Now that is campy enough to love. I think this one and Volnar are the ones I find the least interesting, but Space King Arthur, that I see why the art is the way it is. For Wonderverse, it's cringy enough. It's very campy. I like it, but it's one of those, wow, I like that ironically type things. Probably grow on me over time. Anyway, Exvaders, abbreviation of extra-dimensional invaders. Not much is known about them currently, except that they go around devastating entire universes. Isn't that basically the Starvaders, Link Joker from Vanguard. Earth has sent multiple diplomatic missions to them to establish some kind of communication, but each one of them has been ruthlessly massacred. The next target is our own universe, and the only thing that can stop them are gate rulers and their allies. Please note the various names and terminology mentioned here are subject to change, which I can tell you from being on the other side of this. Yeah, you change a lot in development. Lycun GG, that's familiar, that name. Okay, so I'm just going to go over to the art we've seen so far, so we can just look at it. So, definitely some themes. Well, there's probably our Black Knight Dista and Black Knight Ghost. I wonder if they're different characters. As you can see, the art style varies a lot by the factions. Captain Omega, and Invasion Emperor are very likely. Where were the last two? Wonderverse and X-Vaders, respectively. There's something worth mentioning. We'll just go down. You'll see a lot of Master Future Ed. Oh, that's that Malevolus Prime. I was kind of expecting a Transformers thing, but it looks more like the Solis from Yu-Gi-Oh! Oh, that's Hellkong. That looks cool. I like that. Oh, I really like Sniper Wolf and Tally-Ho Dog. Oh, Tally-Ho. Like the dwarves from Final Fantasy. Time-Eating Genie. Vampire Soldier 11. There's a lot of cool stuff here. Lots to like. I like at least Mikage, huh? Mikage. Like Force of Will. Intelligence Agent Becky. I like that. It's just such a normal name. I like it. Co-op Tiger Ace. There's lots of cool stuff here. There's Genja, which I started this with. Giant Corpse Armor. Gashido Kuro. Looks cool. Dragon type prototype battle weapon. Hono Ikazuchi. That's Mechagodzilla, guys. Captain Liberty. That's thing. Tokai Armored Unit Jinrai. That looks cool. Buster Kong looks cool. Oh, that's the arc that was mentioned. Looks pretty cool. Black Kappa Genkuro. That is really cool art. That's nice. I think it's got enough appeal across the board. Demon Dragon Viola Volidus. Oh yeah, that's Force of Will art. That's reused art. I seem to think that's Vingo 3 art for some reason. Banshee's cool, but I think they mean Banshee. It should be a B. Because not a lot of people know this. The LR thing is also BV. Which is why in a lot of older things you'll see Vegeta for Vegeta. Bullseye Wolf, formerly Sniper Wolf. Probably because of Metal Gear Solid. Tiger Co-op Ace became Champ Tiger. Sergeant Rampant Elephant just became Rampant Elephant. Big Owl, I like that. Bone Princess. That's Arla from Force of Will. Now I know why Hunter Surge showed me that. Id Tiger looks cool. There's a lot. Monster Wolverine really looks cool. I like that. Imperial Wizard looks pretty good. Now that's straight up Dimension Police looking stuff. That one's a cool piece of artwork. Looks very much like a comic book. I like that. Yeah, got a little green Allens. Looks nice. Space Journalist Crystal looks pretty cool. I like the artwork there. It's Hi Schrodinger. Space Schrodinger's cat. Okay. Guess I had to keep it to that. Goldberg. Do we mean like the wrestler? He's pretty big like a wrestler. Oh, now I know why Hunter Surge was asking me about the artwork. He manages this site too. Okay then. Okay. So let's go to the rules to end this video, because how long is this video so far? 30 minutes. Going to be a long one. So, Compiled rules and mechanics info. Uh, just apologies now if I don't edit this. It's pretty long. So, compiled rules and mechanics info. The game has been stated to be a reworked version of Dominator. So, the partial playmat for Dominator that Akita released at one point, in tandem with one image of a game in motion from the gate roller test play, gives us a strong idea of the basic playing field. If it has a ruler zone where the flag/item was in Buddyfight. Oh, I wonder if it's 3 like Buddyfight, and placed based on partial information we had on the avatar mechanic in Dominator. So basically, this is just Dominator, except developed further. It's like a branch of Dominator. Interesting. Which, going further, I already know that's got a lot in common with Buddyfight, which means they're both branches of Buddyfight. I wonder if that's why Dominator's taken so long to come out, because they wanted to kill off Buddyfight first. That'd be interesting. Anyway, let's get back to it. It has a ruler zone where the flag/item was in Buddyfight, and based on the partial information we had on the avatar mechanic in Dominator, they will have an inherent attack, strike, and life stat. The first two imply that rulers will be able to attack units and the opponent, much like the items in Buddyfight. We see our left and right unit zone as well. Skips a bunch of stuff because it's striked. Due to the new reveal of Hono Ikazuchi's effect, it is now confirmed that there is in fact a central zone that protects the player from attack, so like Buddyfight. However, unlike with Buddyfight, if the opposing center unit is destroyed mid-battle, when the center unit is attacked, the target will change to the opposing player instead of whiffing as it did in Buddyfight. So exactly how it works in Force of Will. Because in Force of Will, unlike a lot of games, if you attack, it's blocked, and you kill that blocker, the attack goes through. So, it is currently unknown if having a unit in your center will prevent your ruler from attacking. The spell equivalent in this game, event cards, are landscape cards, like Impacts in Buddyfight and Climaxes in Vice. While there are only 2 zones for them on the Dominator mat, the Gate Ruler test play image clearly shows it has been upgraded to 3 zones. So, what, do they work like traps? That's interesting. Or it limits the amount of spells you can cast per zone. Okay. We'll see how that works, I'm interested. Based on the text from the sample cards, there appears to be 2 kinds of event cards. Some, like the red gold one we've pictured here, have an effect that allows them to be placed face down and activated later, like traps in Yu-Gi-Oh! Assumedly, this will be the way to use events as counter/instant speed. Others, like the pink one on the right, I wonder why they chose pink as a colour, don't have this ability and thus, assumedly, can only be played on your own turn and are thus played directly from the player's hand. That's actually something I don't really get in Yu-Gi-Oh! Why instant speed spells exist when traps exist. It'd be interesting if the game just scrapped one or the other. Just saying. I don't really talk about Yu-Gi-Oh! Much because I'm not that huge of a fan. But that is an interesting thing, why both exist when it's a little mechanical redundant. So, where was I up to? Interestingly, we also see alternative effects that activate if the event is destroyed while face down. It'll be interesting to see how common of a design that is. That is actually interesting, triggered when it's destroyed. The damage zone appears to be card-based, since Dominator's avatars, unlikely Gate Ruler's ruler cards, have different life numbers. It's likely that the amount of damage you can take before losing differs depending on your ruler. So it works a bit like Vanguard, but yeah. Since in the test play image, the cards... Jeez, that's a bit hard to read. Since in the test play image, the cards in the damage zone are face up. I think they mean since in the test play image... I'm misreading it. Since in the test play image, there should be a comma to break it up. Since in the test play image, the cards in the damage zone are face up, and Akita has confirmed there will be no shields, it means the mechanic will work similarly to Vanguard's damage, which also means it's like Final Fantasy and originally the Naruto CCG. This could also mean there is a costing mechanic like counterblasts, where you can flip cards in the damage zone face up to pay for effects. Sorry, face down. God, I'm misreading a bit. I think it's because I've been talking for so long. The CNT counter timing, probably not using icons for like cont, auto, and act if they're using CNC to mean counter, by the way. The counter timing we've seen on several cards is likely tied to damage, probably working similarly to damage triggers. This is thought because these effects get a different background color for their section of the text box, which is fairly normal. Several of them simply say just to use them when use one of the card's other abilities. This is fairly commonly seen on trigger type effects in other TCGs, which is true. Especially notable is the effect of Time Eating Genie, which is pictured here, which I believe is this card over here. It has the effect of it has the counter effect to end the turn if you have 2 life or less, with reminder text stating that the turn is ended immediately if it is in the middle of damage calculation. Other possible interpretations of this keyword, such as continuous or counter as in Buddyfight's counter, which allowed the card such effect to be used at instant speed, would make this a broken effect that allows you to always immediately end your opponent's turn if you have 2 damage or less, which makes sense. However, as an effect triggered by this card being damaged, it makes sense, as it would be a randomly, well, not completely, as a deck manipulation is already shown to exist, activated effect. Requiring you to have so few life remaining would have few chances to activate. It also makes sense of the reminder text as if it was the first damage in an attack that would deal multiple damage. As a reminder that it interrupts further damage calculation is important. Lastly, the mention of 2 life or less may not typically be syntax used in a TCG with a Vanguard style damage system. If the rulers have different life totals, it would make sense to reference damage this way, as the condition would be if you have 5 damage or more. Could exclude low life rulers entirely from the card, making it too easily accessible to high life rulers. Well, yeah, I get where they're going with that. It makes sense. So people are going to have to be mindful of it's your starting life minus the amount of cards in your damage zone. Okay. Actually, I'm kind of surprised I haven't incorporated that into Vanguard. I think it'd be very, very interesting balancing factor for Vanguard. Actually, someone suggested I finish up that idealized Vanguard video. Could really balance our cards that way. Interesting. Anyway, thanks to the sample cards, we also have seen the reminder text for both TD, touchdown, and OD, overdrive timings. Respectively, they are: TD is an effect that activates when you play from your hand, so it's ETB effects basically, and OD is an effect that activates when you play a drive. Sorry, throat's a bit sore because I've been talking for so long. TD is simply the standard ETB, enters the battlefield, which I just said. Effect type that is standard in every TCG, just reduced to a symbol for save space. Yeah, actually I'm doing that too, but different context. As for OD, we have no clue at this time what a drive is. Word association could connect it to Vanguard, especially since the game seems to be already borrowing Vanguard's damage mechanics, which would make these effects that activate when you drive check cards. But that is pure assumption currently. Well, actually, it's speculation too. But, yeah. Next, the stats on the unit. On the bottom left of each unit, we see an attack, HP, and strike stat. On the sample cards, these were instead labelled attack, defense, and critical. From this, we can safely assume that strike functions like critical did in Vanguard and Buddyfight. God, I'm becoming dyslexic reading this. It's so long. And is the stat used to determine how much damage is dealt when the unit attacks a player. Meanwhile, we know HP will not function quite the same as defense, and will instead be a health stat, fitting its name change to HP, that automatically generates at the end of the turn like Magic the Gathering. Interesting. In practice, this doesn't seem to be much different from Buddyfight's defense, as players will still be able to link attack to take down a unit with multiple smaller units. It's yet to be seen if the attacked unit will deal damage back to the attacker like in Magic the Gathering and Duel Masters. Actually that would be curious if they scrap that, because it is a very different game to Magic and Duel Masters. I categorize games as being wizard games, so Magic Gathering derivatives, war games, which are games really focused on board position, so like Vanguard, One Piece, One Piece derivatives, so that'd be Vanguard, Buddyfight, even Pokemon is position based. I call them war games because they're typically one faction versus another. And fighting games. Typically, war games do not do the whole Magic the Gathering Duel Masters thing. Anyway, word on this art, this is straight up Agravain from Force of Will. So there's that. Where was it? Near the end. Continuing on stats, we see through these two cards here, Omen Butterfly and Warriors in Continuous Battle, that factions will get different stat allocations, very similarly to Future Card Buddyfight. So they're the same cost, 3/3, 3/4, 1/1. Yep, checks out. Last up, let's talk about the number on the top left of the card, top left with the card's type. That would be up here, the Unit 0. I assume that's the size from Buddyfight, actually. Due to being referenced on some of the sample cards, we know that this is the level. What we've seen in the test play image and the Dominator play mat doesn't seem to indicate any sort of mana zone, so it seems unlikely that this is a cost. In addition, the number doesn't seem to go high enough to fit a mana cost, as the numbers on the sample cards designed to test the frame only go to 3. Though it may go higher than 3, it's unlikely they go up to 8, as that would likely be seen on the sample cards, since it's the single number that tends to take the most space, and so it's the one to test, which would be why we see so many sample cards with 888 stat lines. This also cannot be size mechanic from Buddyfight, as it also appears on event cards. Actually, what it might be, before I go on, is depending on your life remaining, what ones you can use. It might actually do that whole start big and small thing that Flesh and Blood does. Be interesting. Okay, let's see what else they say. What seems most likely is that there is a level/grade mechanic like Vice and Vanguard, where your ruler levels up each turn, and you can only play units and events of its current level or lower. But ultimately, this is also pure speculation, so take this with a grain of salt. Actually, we haven't really entertained the idea that the ruler is a stack of cards, or played like Vanguard's ruler. Vanguard's Vanguard. Actually, it'll be really Actually, have they even put out any cards that are the ruler specific? I, I I'll check. Let's just check the beta cards for a sec before we go on. No, it just says unit as the card type. Event unit. So there doesn't seem to be any dedicated ruler cards. So it might be like Vanguard. Because it's interesting that they haven't uh, pointed out specific ruler cards. Now, I'm not sure if that's a mistake. We'll have to play the game. But if it is a level up mechanic, I actually think going for levels of the same character that becomes increasingly powerful, a la the score slash Panini DBZ, probably could have been a good option for that. But it helps stick to the character that your gate ruler is. It helps solidify that identity, much like how Force of Will's ruler works. We'll have to wait and see, but it'll be interesting to see if that happens. Because with the law the way it is, right? If you just take over a unit like Vanguard, it doesn't really suit the law because you're that special entity that is a gate ruler. There's no mention of you taking over a unit, so why would you ride, for lack of a better term, a unit? Because it doesn't suit the flavor. You're the one doing it, you're not inhabiting their body. I wonder if there will be a dedicated ruler card. We'll have to wait and see. So, let's just go on. Lastly, a point we want to make is that Dominator was touted as a game where different styles of TCGs would go up against each other, and similar language has been used to describe Gate Ruler. In Dominator, it seems the way this was going to be done is different rulers would modify the rules to resemble different TCGs. This would also apply in Gate Ruler, so it is possible the basic rules of the game could be altered relatively drastically based on the ruler you use. This has already been partially hinted by Akita, who has deconfirmed a shield system. He also specifically said yet, and noted that Gate Ruler is an evolving and expanding TCG. That's interesting. So I do, given the wording here, I do really think there is going to be a dedicated ruler card. I think it might end up as a stack like the Scorpanini DBZ. If it only goes up to 3, I think it might just be levels 1, 2, 3. Now, it'd be interesting if they just use the same art assets for each one, maybe with some alterations like special effects and whatnot. But it's interesting. Let's go. Just finish this up. So, because we're nearly done. Gate Ruler will use a 5-color system similar to Magic the Gathering and Duel Masters, where the 5 colors are called Atlas, Volna, Yomajin Front, Wonderverse, and X-Faders, which we already know. Damage on units will be healed at the end of the turn, like in Magic, which we've read. Akita has mentioned that units cannot be played side by side. This likely means there are a finite number of unit zones, like Cardfight Vanguard, Future Card Buddyfight, and Yu-Gi-Oh!, and not an infinite shared zone like Magic and Duel Masters. In Gate Ruler, you will draw 2 cards at the beginning of your turn, unlike Vice, and Final Fantasy, by the way, guys, but unlike most other TCGs. The average length of the game is similar to the Future Card Buddyfight's first year. There will be a giant robot combining deck. The Soul Guard mechanic from Future Card Buddyfight will return in Gate Ruler. That was actually one thing I really, really liked about Buddyfight. I really like the Soul Guard mechanic. So I'm happy to see that return. That's something I'd be excited about. For the time being, Gate Ruler does not have a shield system like Duel Masters and the new Digimon TCG. A mechanic similar to Transform/Ride from Future Card Buddyfight, I don't know what that is, will be featured from the second set onwards. However, to resolve the issue where low-powered monsters become less useful due to the player gaining a defense value that was complained about in Buddyfight, that will not grant a defensive value to the player. Okay. The first set will be relatively plain to enjoy the basics of the game, but the game will become flashier in the second set, third set, and onwards. When discussing Kitesith, which I'm fairly sure I'm pronouncing incorrectly because it's a Gaelic word, Akita mentioned it would have a common ability called Familiar that allows a card to be treated as any race when performing a special summon with it as material. This likely suggests that there will be either an extra deck which is crossed out, so obviously no extra deck, or an evolution mechanic similar to Duel Masters. I'd bet on that. There will be a type of card called Legends, which you can only run one copy of in your deck. The number of different legends a deck can contain will be determined by your ruler. Again, we haven't seen the ruler any cards talk about any of these things rulers are supposedly to do. There is a dedicated ruler card. Just saying. It's so obvious. There will be a special summon mechanic where if certain units are summoned via it, they will receive special benefits. The different factions will receive unique methods of special summoning, with Volnar being called Abyss Summoning, and seems to use the discard pile in some way to enable it. I already had this idea, but I was using an extra deck. Not the game I'm working on, by the way. I've got 3 things in development. This was very, very base development. So, Akita seems to have referenced the First Strike and Vigilance keywords from Magic the Gathering when describing the kinds of effects cards will have. So it seems these MTG keywords will be in Gate Ruler. Well, it's more likely that he's using the terminology, but because it's easier for explaining, but it's probably just going to be renamed. By the presence of First Strike, we can assume that in combat, both creatures deal battle damage to each other, very different from how Buddyfight worked, which, as I said, it's actually very unusual for this type of game. By the presence of Vigilance, it can be assumed that creatures will be able to block. It is unclear whether this will be an innate ability on all cards like Magic the Gathering, or if it will be an ability to certain specific cards like in Duel Masters. Regardless, having standing units be able to block attacks in addition to the Buddyfight mechanic of needing to open the center line to attack directly is sure to create an interesting game with tons of defensive potential. Yes, I like that. So, this is sounding good. Edited by... I know why you showed me that now, Hunter. So, with the exception of X-Vaders, Starvaders, Akita has detailed how each faction will play. Yomagen Front is a faction that will have lots of combat tricks. It is good at defense and ambushes. Like it. Atlas is a faction that will have many cards and effects that deal damage, and it will be complex and difficult to play faction meant for experienced TCG players. Volnar is a combo-heavy deck that uses many special summons and uses several races in combination. It's interesting. That's probably where that robot combination deck comes in. Wonderverse is a deck with many strong individual cards. You can fight with straightforward power or use tricky combos. So that's all there really is to say. Great, people screaming outside again. That's all I really have to say on the matter. It's an hour-long video, so please forgive me for not editing this thing. I'm not sitting through an hour's worth of my own content. I've got other things to do. This is probably going to be up for pre-order by the end of the year. It's meant to come out by the end of the year. As I said, my mate is looking to get the starter decks in a box. I'll try it out. If I like it, hey, more content for me. If I don't, well, I'll explain why. But I hope I do enjoy it. It does look enjoyable at the very least. I've got pretty reasonable hopes for it. It looks promising, I should say. Given it's being handled by iSpy, I'm really curious on the drop rates. I know Akita owns card stores, so they might not be terribly generous, but I would really like something more in the vein of Force of Wills by 3 to 4 boxes, you get everything at playset. I think that honestly is the way of the future, with full arts being the money cards. But anyway, if you've got any comments about Gate Ruler, please leave them down below. If you want to look at all this information yourself, the site is gaterealize.com. And let me just check from there. Can you get to their the actual main site for Gate Ruler? Is there one? Oh, there was starter deck packaging. I can have a look at that before we go. Hey, Allosaurus's art. Let's see. And more Forcible art? That looks like a Forcible art. There's probably more information here I should really read. But again, this video is over an hour long. That's Allosaurus. That's new art. Interesting, they're going for big packaging. Don't know how that's going to affect things. But yeah, let's just leave it at that. This has been Some Gamer Dude, and thanks for watching me for about an hour.